You're listening to the Good Old Boys Fantasy Football Podcast. Now here's your hosts, Kevin, Derek, and Alex.
All right, welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the Good Old Boys Fantasy Football Podcast. I am Derek, and joined as always by your co-hosts, Kevin and Alex. Gentlemen, how are we doing?
Doing good. Welcome to the 2024 NFL offseason, right? Or rookie draft season, right? If you're a year-round fantasy player, but I'm doing good, man. I thought the Super Bowl was amazing. I thought the commercials were okay. There were definitely a couple that stuck out. The worst part about the Super Bowl was the halftime show, that Usher concert.
Oh, really?
Totally disappointed, man. Totally disappointed. I had such high expectations. My wife, and really that's what it was. My wife had such high expectations, and when she turned over and looked at me, she goes, "This is not what I wanted to see."
Was it because it didn't sound very good? Because I know there were some audio issues. It wasn't the best.
The sound was terrible from the beginning. I mean, it was terrible when Post did America the Beautiful. It's a good thing Reba has a beautiful voice, because her national anthem came through and still sounded beautiful. She did a great job with that.
Yeah.
And then the halftime show, I don't know, man.
Really?
Like I thought for Vegas it'd be showier.
Sure. I mean, it was. I don't think they did a good enough job showcasing that in the broadcast. I'll agree to that, because there was a lot of people on that field. They had the marching band out there.
The marching band was from his high school,
which is so cool, right?
His hometown high school. He had them come do the marching band for that. Bailey told me that right before the show.
I did not know that. That's really cool. I think the amount of guests was good. I think the audio kind of ruined it. I will say, like, the audio wasn't the best, but it did bring back a lot of nostalgia for me, right? And I thought that the guests that were there were perfect. What it really made me do was curse the NFL, because that should have been the Atlanta halftime 2 years ago, right? 3 years ago, whenever that game was in Atlanta. That should have been what the Atlanta, I guess that was longer. That's 4 or 5 years ago now. But that should have been what the Atlanta halftime show was. So all those guys from Atlanta, repping their city. I thought it was fun, though. I thought it was fun to see Jermaine Dupri dressed as a pilgrim. I think Pilgrim Dupree might be my fantasy football team next year.
There you go.
And then to see Lil Jon and Ludacris, that was awesome. Yeah, that was so much fun.
Seeing Ludacris was pretty cool. I don't know, man. Like, it did not bring back as much nostalgia as the LA Super Bowl when they had Jay and Snoop and Eminem. Like, I thought that one was more nostalgic than what Usher was. And I don't know. And Alicia Keys was fine. Like, it is what it is. It didn't wow me enough for it being Las Vegas, for it being something that we all grew up around, right? When Usher was, dropping albums and an R&B icon. It left me wanting a lot more. But the game more than made up for that. I thought the stinking game was phenomenal. It was a phenomenal game. And I know a lot of people wanted more scoring and it's kind of boring. Those two defenses were hitting so stinking hard, man. Those pads were popping, and the sounds that you could hear from play after play after play was awesome. You had turnovers on both sides of the ball. You had some big plays. The trick play that got McCaffrey into the end zone was really cool.
Smart, really smart play.
That was a great play, right? You had Mahomes' big play to Hardman, and then Pacheco fumbles.
Yeah.
And then you have the Kelsey, Andy Reid, frustration and how that's getting turned sideways and up its head and everything else. Like, it was whatever, but I thought the game was phenomenal. Late game heroics, final drives, another final drive, overtime in a Super Bowl is always cool. And then, obviously, Kansas City got 6. San Francisco could only get 3. Kansas City got 6. And congratulations to the champs. You are now one step closer to having the opportunity to three-peat, right? The first ever NFL team to
should have been Denver. I've got three things that I want to touch on. I'm going to say them now because I'm going to forget about them. So the first thing is the Kelsey Reed thing. The second thing is the overtime strategy. The overblown. I shouldn't say the overtime strategy, but the overblown where the Niners said they didn't understand the overtime rules, and then overtime strategy with the Niners kicking the field goal on their first possession. So the first one is the Kelsey Reed thing. To me, that shows the sign of a healthy locker room where that you are allowed to be yourself. Those locker rooms have tough discussions every day. And it's not just, what player are we going to put? You're talking about dudes' livelihoods, right? Like when you have to tell a guy, you aren't cutting it, you've got to go. You're telling that guy, I'm taking away your source of income. Sorry. Like that's what that, and so like, it's a tough conversation to have. The fact that Travis Kelce can go and be that animated and that comfortable to be that animated with Andy Reid tells me that's a healthy ecosystem in that locker room. That is not something that is out of the ordinary. And sure, yeah, he probably got a little too amped up. Freaking Super Bowl, right? You're going to be a little bit more amped up about things. So I have no issue with Travis Kelce bumping into his head coach. Should he have a little bit more respect for Andy Reid? Yeah, but they've been working together for so long that's a healthy relationship, in my opinion, where you can have animated discussions, let bygones be bygones once you settle down, right? Say your piece, move on, right? That's essentially what happened. Said his piece, got a little too much into Big Red's face there, but he said his piece, they moved on, and what happened? They won the freaking Super Bowl. So, like, who cares? All right, second thing is the overblownness of the Niners players saying that they didn't understand overtime rules. And to that I say, who gives a rip? Like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Right.
The players know the rules. As long as the coach and the guy who's out there calling the coin toss understands the rules, who cares what the rest of the players know? I can bet you that there are players on that defense that don't understand rules on the offense and what rules that there are dictated for them. Like, it doesn't matter. So, like, I know they're going to make a big deal out of that, but it's not as big of a deal as people are making it out to be. As long as you go out there and do your job, you're fine.
The only thing I would like to know is when Fred Warner went out at the start of overtime.
Did he know?
Did he know?
Yeah.
Because your captain does need to know.
Right.
And that's what if he didn't, then that is a lapse and an opportunity to coach better. Now, Shanahan coached a good game. He got away from the run a little bit too much, and I think that's ultimately what did him in. He fell in love with the pass against a really, really good secondary from the Chiefs. And McCaffrey, I don't know his yards per carry. I'm not looking at it, but it felt like he was getting 5 yards a clip. Is what it felt like. Every time he got the ball up the middle, outside, it didn't matter. He was getting five yards a clip. And they really got away from the run there in the second and third quarter. And when they got away from the run, they stopped scoring points. Which, whatever. Back to this. If Shanahan doesn't explain to his captain, if we win the toss, this is what I want.
And
it looks like even if that's all he says, right?
It looks
Grab
like he
him for
did.
2 seconds.
Right.
He had a press conference today that said, look, we went over this before playoffs started. We
want the ball third.
Coaches. Yeah, we want the ball third, which, like, I totally understand that line of thinking. And I think, I don't know this for certain. I've just heard this because I haven't looked it up, nor do I care to. But I think the analytics say that you want the ball third, right? You want to know what you have to do with the chance to win the game, right? So I think Kevin, you're correct, and Derek, I'm sorry to cut you off.
Oh, you're good.
But Shanahan did tell Warner what was expected because they wanted the ball third. So yes, we want the ball.
I would tell you that those analytics work against most teams, but analytics of that nature do not take into account the quarterback
on the
other sideline.
Yeah. I agree with you there.
If you can only get 3, you have essentially doomed yourself when you have a quarterback like Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen. Like, I think not so much Jalen Hurts this year, but Jalen Hurts last year, right, was just so electric in the way that offense was moving. Like, yes, you want the ball with the chance to win, knowing that both teams get a full possession. But I tell you what, I want to know that I truly have a leg up on the greatest quarterback in the league today.
Right.
Well, and I'm not going to say the GOAT. I'm not putting that on him, but the greatest quarterback in the league today is hands down Patrick Mahomes.
Well, if one block gets picked up there in the overtime, right? Chris Jones gets blocked, and Jawan Jennings is coming wide open on that play.
He really was
with an easy connection. So at one block,
and
right?
Ayuk was wide open at the post.
Yes,
both of them. He had both of them.
But he didn't have a chance because they missed an assignment.
No, because Chris Jones went all pro, right? This is why the Chiefs paid Chris Jones to come back, and they did what they did. But Chris Jones arguably could have been the MVP of that game because he saved at least 2, if not 3 touchdowns by himself, because when his team needed him most, he put the pressure on Purdy, got in his face, and created short throws all 3 times, wide open players.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes, it's a quarterback driven league, and Mahomes 333 yards, the touchdowns. Yes. Chris Jones
rusher on the team, all of that. Yes.
Yeah, Chris Jones had a damn good argument to be a defensive MVP of that game, or the MVP of that game as a defensive player, because of 3 plays, and that was it. But those 3 plays were absolute difference makers, and anybody who goes back and understands the game, breaks down film, sees what he did in those crucial moments. He was the most valuable player for the Chiefs, because Mahomes wouldn't have been in any type of position to try and do that had Chris Jones not been the all-pro on those 3 plays alone. So
that gets to my third talking point. We've been talking about it, was the strategy in overtime. I think you can Monday morning quarterback, that's all you want. But I think kicking the field goal was the wrong call. I think you go for it there, try to get the first down. If you don't, well, then the Chiefs have a long way to go, right? I think you have to get 6 because of who is on the other sideline, right? I think you have got to get the touchdown because of you pretty much just have to guarantee, like, you're banking on the fact that they're going to score. They're going to score a touchdown. I think you take the ball first because you have confidence in your offense, right? And your offense is going to score. So it's fine to take the ball first there. But I think you have to
one drive in the second half that should give you confidence.
I agree, but I think you have to have willful ignorance of what the game is doing, because you have to believe in your guys, right? You have to believe in your guys.
He can believe in Joey Bosa. He can believe in Fred Warner. Like, I'm not saying, again, you're right. It's Monday morning. I want the ball second. I don't care about first and third. I want the ball second, and I'm going to tell my defense, you hold them to 3, we're going to go win this game. That's all there is to it.
Right.
You hold them to 3, we're going to win this game. And way it gives them a little bit of a cushion, right? Like, just don't give up 6, guys.
You have to go for it on 4th down, right? And the Chiefs did, and they got it, and they converted on a 4th down. And I think that was I think you go for it. I think you cannot settle for a field goal in playoff. Oh, did I lose you?
No, you're good.
Oh, you're good.
Okay. I just think you can't settle for a field goal in playoff overtime. If you're down inside the red zone or near it, you have to go for it, because you're going to kick off. You kick the field goal, you kick off, and they're 75, not even 75. They're 30 yards away from field goal range, right?
Right.
So I just think you have to get 6. If you get the ball first, you got to get 6.
So we do have a comment coming in off of the Instagram. Maximus over there saying San Francisco's defense had just been on the field for an 11-play drive and had gotten worked. They were exhausted. There's something to that, but right, kind of going back to that point of the Monday morning quarterback thing and all of that. Like you're talking about foregoing points, trying to get it on a fourth down. I get where you're going. I get what you're talking about, what you're saying with that. But at the same time, right, you're going to put the ball back in the hands of the greatest quarterback in the league today to go down there and put them in, to get down to the 40-yard line to be able to kick a game-winning field goal. Butker had already put up the record-breaking Super Bowl longest kick in history and was 4 for 4 going into that point. Like he was feeling that was a guy that could have had a shot at an MVP.
I agree. I think, yes, you got to believe that they're going to score, but it's so much easier. I just think you have to get 6 when it's against Patrick Mahomes. And that's not the case for everybody. It goes back to what Kevin said. Like the analytics do say a lot of things, but they failed to take into account, who's on the other sideline. And like, that's a very real thing. Playoff Patrick Mahomes is a cheat code. He's a cheat code, right? Like he just is so good.
Right.
And so if you have to counteract that and you've got to do everything possible, I think you go for it there on fourth down.
Yeah. I can't subscribe to it simply from the standpoint that your defense had allowed 4 field goals by that point and one real touchdown.
And the touchdown was a freebie because of special teams. Yeah.
Right. Like your defense had played so well at that point that they put you in a position to be able to do that. And you lean on what's been a special part of your team all season long.
I am not going to say that you're wrong, Derek, because I can see where you're coming from. I just think you got to get 6. You got to get 6.
Fair enough. I didn't see it. I just, the same point, like I can easily see that, like, hey, we're going to take the points here. Our defense has played outstanding all game long. Worst case scenario, we give up 3 points, right? Like we believe in our defense to hold them to 3. We either win outright.
You give Patrick Mahomes 4 downs though, because they know they have to go. They have to.
Right. Well, it also depends too on where the 4 downs are, right? If it's 4th and 5 from the 30, they're not going to go for that. They're going to kick the field goal and extend it. 4th and 1, 4th and 2 inside the 10 or 15. Like that's a whole other story. So, but all right. Any other thoughts here on the old big game?
Great game. I was very thrilled with the game. Great game.
Very good way to end the season.
Yeah,
I was pleased.
It's very true. You know what? Another good way to end the season was with our playoff scoring eliminator.
We're doing that still.
Oh, we got to recap it for everybody out there. I'm glad to say that I finally didn't give up that lead here going down the stretch like I did in our regular season game that we played in the Pine and Shine. So I came close, but Alex, happy to report that you did not finish last.
Thank you, Travis.
That was the differentiator there. Was the Travis Kelce versus George Kittle.
Oh, so. And he just wasn't there. And the one catch that he did have, they got called back. Oh.
Right. So it was one of those. I was looking through that and was doing the updates on that and go, there really wasn't much wiggle room with the fact that we all had Debo and CMC on that there was only three wiggly points on that one. So
yeah. Go ahead, say the finals here.
Hindsight, you take Juwan Jennings and Mecole Hardman.
Yeah.
Right.
Because as we all expected, Juwan Jennings to throw a touchdown pass.
Well,
and
have some big catches.
And receiving. Second player ever.
Yeah.
Passing and receiving touchdown in the Super Bowl.
And then,
Nick Foles.
Right.
I was at that game.
imagine if Dwan Jennings comes down with that overtime pass that was errant and all that he scores 2 touchdowns and the passing one. Like, how is he not the Super Bowl MVP at that point? Like, so for the Super Bowl, that Alex, you ended up taking first for the week on the Super Bowl with 80.22 points. Kevin had second for the week at 67.82 points, and I was a distant third at 55.3 points. Totaling out, Kevin coming in at 289.96 points. Alex with 291 and 22 points, or 22.22 points, and I rounded it out with an even 318. So lots of fun.
Good job, Derek.
I had to take a win where I could, since my pick'ems and everything else were not very good. But had to pick that.
How did I do on that? Oh yeah, your pick'em was not great.
No, really wasn't. Really was not.
We'll get to that. Did you guys have fun with your props?
Yeah, they were all right.
I don't really remember all of the ones that I took. I know I had the over on the anthem, and I think she took the over. Like, I think she hit the over, right? I got back. I was trying to take care of my dog before. So the Super Bowl started at a very inconvenient time for me because my dog needs to eat, right? And then she needs to have a walk. And that usually happens around 6:00. But that game kicked at 5:30. So we had to move up the timeline, but still kind of keep it as close as we could to normal. So I could watch a football game, so as to not inconvenience her. But I got back right as Reba started singing, so I didn't have my timer out to get it right away.
I think it was right around 100 seconds, so it was definitely on the over.
So I had the over. I remember that.
But I know on that one I was calling for a faster scoring drive than the old national anthem. That one definitely hit.
Yeah, one play, 16 seconds or whatever it was.
Yeah, it was super fast on that one. So it would have been tough to go on that one. Will there be an octopus? No octopuses in this game.
Nobody even attempted a 2-point attempt.
Nope. So wasn't much fun there. Any quarter to score 22 or more points?
Nope.
It had a couple get close. Mahomes to go 15 rush yards and throw for 215 or more. Yep.
Yeah, he crushed that one.
Yep, he got that one. So
a couple of those rushes were so good.
Yes.
They had those plays buried so deep and waited just for that moment. Like, it was just genius how wide open he was on the first one. And then they ran it again later. I was like, oh my gosh. Like, you can't game plan for that. You haven't seen it all year long. But what a perfectly timed play.
I think losing Greenlaw to that freak injury, right? Oh my gosh.
I feel so bad for that guy. What a terrible freak
bad break
accident.
But I think that changes things, right? Because Greenlaw was kind of serving as like that spy linebacker. He had been, right? When they had done that. That was Greenlaw
doing the spy, and he was on Kelsey when Kelsey would run routes, right? Like, I mean, Greenlaw had done a good job keeping Kelsey completely in check. It was, it was big time. So
just another storyline, right? Another crazy thing.
The Niners couldn't keep healthy, right? Debo was in and out because of the hamstring. Kittle was out for a couple plays because of the shoulder. Greenlaw went down. Yeah. And then at the end of the play, or the end of the game, they're starting one of their starting safeties, right? The one that got his collarbone smashed by Kelsey there at the end of the fourth quarter. Like, you lost too many key guys, right? Yeah. I mean, in a game like this, you need everybody, all hands on deck type thing. And it's next man up, but those are big time players, and they all were from the San Francisco side. Like, it was just a ton to try and overcome.
Yeah.
Very true.
Anyways, where were we at? Yes, Mahomes rushing was. The guy, he's just, like I said, playoff Mahomes is a cheat code. It's so unfair. It's so unfair. It's so
Right.
annoying that he's in the Broncos division.
We're 500. The Broncos actually do a good job against Mahomes. The win-loss
That's
record
fair.
doesn't speak to it, but Mahomes, for the most part, does not light Denver up. He's had a couple solid games, but he has never gone bananas against Denver.
Right.
I guess I should just say it sucks that he's also in their conference because you're gonna have to go through him to get to another Super Bowl, and that's unlikely.
The AFC's stacked, man.
Super.
AFC stacked.
Super annoying. I don't remember. Did anybody take will the first play from scrimmage result in the first down? Because it didn't.
No, it didn't.
Yeah, I don't think anybody did.
But total yards gained, it did hit the over. 6 yards from Christian McCaffrey. It was a 6-yard run. So total yards gained on the first play, over under 3.5. The over hit on that.
Yep. It's true.
Will there be a touchdown from the 1?
Nope.
Did not happen. It wasn't even really an opportunity. I guess the closest was the game winner, right?
Yeah.
That was the closest one. The closest touchdown, I guess.
Yeah. Purple Gatorade that took forever to find.
I found that.
Yes, you did.
I had to share that with you guys.
Even sent
did,
pictures.
because I could not and since then I've seen the video and they got good video of it and everything else, but it took forever for those Chiefs players to hit Reed with the Gatorade. I'm like, what the hell? Like, this is one of the most iconic props every single year is what colors the Gatorade, and the players are dropping the ball. Like, what the heck?
Right.
So,
Deebo Samuel rush yards. Again, like you were mentioning, Kevin, the Deebo Samuel injury, whatever he was dealing with, limited how they could use him.
Right.
He had 3 carries for 8 yards. Did not hit the 16 and a half that we had.
Right. So that was definitely an under.
Deebo's not special. Like, he's a good number 2. Yes, he can do some different things, but Deebo's not special. Like,
and he looks even more unremarkable now that you have Christian McCaffrey on the same team. That's basically what they wanted to do with him, but McCaffrey's better.
Right. I mean, you took that away, and I mean, the way Ayuk has emerged the last season and a half, and he's a great piece. Like, he is. He's a really good piece. Like, he is a guy that I think most, if not all, NFL teams would like to have him on their roster to be a good piece of the wide receiving core and what he can do and everything else. Like, he's a physical freak, but he's not a special wide receiver. Like, he doesn't really burn past anybody. He'll get hard yardage, but his hands are above average, but not great. His route running is above average, but not phenomenal. Like, he's just not elite in anything that he does. And I just refuse to see it. Now, we've been touting this for a couple years on this show, so it shouldn't surprise anybody. I'm going to take my victory lap on Deebo, but same thing's going to happen next year. Everyone's going to be really high on Deebo, and guess what? Pass.
Right. Well, if you had listened to this show all off season last year, you knew to draft Ayuk over Deebo anyway. So,
right. Contract year though,
true.
Him and Ayuk next year.
Oh,
and Ayuk had some.
I love a receiver on a contract here.
True. You also had
draft Deebo.
I don't think I'll go that route. I think I'll take the Ayuk side of that, but I do love I love a receiver on a contract year.
Right. Well, you had some folks in Ayuk's camp on social media earlier today that.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, we're talking about.
I didn't.
Talking about one
got a
out
little
of
cryptic.
San Francisco.
They got a little cryptic.
Yeah, they did. But
They're too hard into it, but they got a little cryptic.
Yep. Where were we at?
I don't understand that. You're on a team. Like, where does Brandon Ayuk think he's going to go? Where he's going to be the instrumental piece?
Oh, the Jets
gets a team to us. Brandon Ayuk is not going to get the Jets to the Super Bowl.
Exactly.
And
that's what
does not want to go and play second fiddle, and that's exactly what he would be to Garrett Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So, Alex, where were we at on the
I got Rashee Rice anytime touchdown. He didn't hit it.
He was quiet.
He was very quiet.
I'm sorry I let you all down. I said that it was going to be 4 for 37. The 6 for 33 was close, but wasn't exact there.
6 for 39.
Oh, 6 for 39.
Was
I'm
6
sorry.
for 33. Yeah.
He
was quiet. He kind of had a ho-hum. I thought he would be more involved. Realistically, I mean,
he's not the speedster though. Like the way the Niners play defense, like Rashee Rice isn't getting behind anybody at this point, right? That's not where they use him. That's where they use
second. He had the second most targets on the team, though. I mean, right behind Kelsey, second most targets.
Mahomes looked for him, but it was captain check down, right?
Yeah.
At that point.
Yet Alex was touting the Rashee Rice
those
MVP line.
Those odds were silly at plus 8,000.
Right.
And realistically, look, that game was set up for something silly to happen, right? Like it was set up for a kicker to be the MVP at one point. Like hell, that guy on the Niners special teams that just kept making play after play. He was making tackles on punt returns. Conley made the down that punt at the 1. Like it's like that dude could have much of a claim to the MVP. I will say for all of the grief that they have received and the grief that we have given on this show to the officials, that was a pretty damn well officiated game. It was a game where they let the players play. They called what needed to be called. I thought that was a pretty damn well officiated game. They weren't. Yeah, I'd agree. Story, right? They weren't the story, and to me, that is what makes a good officiated game. We are not talking about the officials after that one.
Right.
Not at all.
But it was nice because they let them play. They
they called the hard penalty. That's like there was a defensive holding call. Mm-hmm. That's a hard flag to throw in that situation. It was at the end of the game, or might have been even been in overtime. It wasn't overtime, right? It would have been. It was on a 3rd down. Like that's a hard flag to throw, but that's the right call. And they made the right call when they needed to make the right call.
Right. So it's that was really one of the better officiated games all year long as well. Right. Like they had the right crew out there. They did their job very, very well.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we already hit up the national anthem in color of Gatorade, highest scoring quarter.
Overtime.
Now it's the 4th quarter with 15.
Yeah.
So
I don't remember what we said.
I knew it was going to be. I said it was the second half, and I can't remember if I said 3rd quarter or 4th quarter.
I said the 2nd quarter.
Kind of annoying. Good day for anybody with the 0 square.
Right.
The 0 square. Good for them. It's good. It's a good time for them.
So I joined in with a bunch of folks from work, and we bought a section of squares because there's $100 a pop per square. Yeah. So there was 10 of us or so that all joined in, and we had phenomenal numbers. I mean, salivating numbers. We had 3-3. We had 7-1 on both sides.
Nice. We
had 7-7. And what else we had? We had 9, and we had 9-9, right? Like whatever. And there was a couple others. But looking at it, like the most improbable square that we had was the only one that hit.
Was it 5-2?
No, it was the 9-9
for the
final before at the end of regulation. Yeah, at the end of regulation. So, nevertheless, it paid out. It was worth it. We got our money back plus some. So that was a good thing. But yeah, I was licking my chops going into that Super Bowl, going, "Oh my gracious!" Like, and I wasn't looking at the grid.
0-0.
Yeah, I wasn't looking at the grid. It was 3-3. I thought we had 3-0, and so I was like, "Oh shoot!" I don't remember which way it was at the end of the first quarter, and then 2nd quarter. I was like, well, now it doesn't matter because it's still 3-0 now for the Chiefs. So we hit one of these quarters, we're good, and we kind of go throughout it. And then 9-9, whatever. I was like, well, that sucks. We only hit one. And then I went back and looked at the grid and realized the one we hit wasn't until the fourth quarter. I went, oh, crap. But yeah, so 9-9.
9-9.
Yeah.
It'd be an interesting fact
Good
to know
show.
when the last time 9-9 hit.
So it's fun that you got to play because, like, I was in one where it didn't pay out after the fourth. It was just the final score that paid out, and so
Oh, see,
I didn't
this one
have the
paid out-
9-9.
This one
But
paid out for the fourth and the final.
oh,
And it was set up that way. So if you hit the fourth, you double jackpot, right? But
right.
yeah, this one was set
Yeah.
up to do fourth and final, luckily.
That's nice.
So, and then
Mahomes over under passing touchdowns. It was plus 120 to go over 1.5 passing touchdowns. That's not bad.
He hadn't been doing it.
Yeah.
Right.
And he did it.
He almost didn't do it until the very end.
Yeah.
Took overtime to get there. Free football.
All right. Let's talk about the game pick. Because I'm still upset about this.
Why?
Because
Kevin?
the over under was 47 and a freaking half, Kevin.
Yeah, the hook will get you.
And they didn't have to kick the PAT. And they didn't have to kick the PAT the whole time. So I had a friendly wager with another friend. And he had set the over under at 47.5. I took the over. Because it's fun to root for points, right? Like, it's fun to root for points. So I take the over. And as the Chiefs are driving down, I'm just like, I'm texting. I was like, they're not going to have to kick the PAT, are they? And he's like, nope. Like, son of a gun. All right, we need a field goal here because I need more points.
That's funny.
I had the under, so it didn't bother me one bit.
You did. I took KC plus the 1.5 and the over. And I got half of that right.
Well, I got none right, so there's that. Kevin was 2 for 2-0, so yeah. There you go.
And
job.
Mahomes as the MVP.
It's true.
Actually, you did really well in this pick'em, Kevin. Yep. You did really well in this. You were 4-4 through the first round. You were 3-1.
The first round I
in the
wasn't so
second
hot,
round.
and then after that it picked back up.
Yeah, 3-1. I think you won the whole thing.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, pretty easily.
Well, when you go 5-1 over the last 2 weeks of it, that'll
pretty easy.
That'll get the job done.
Nostradamus, y'all.
Good job.
9-5
Kevin.
over the course of it.
May I have the winning lottery numbers, please?
Yeah, dude, playoff football for me, I have an easier time with playoff football because it's a limited amount of games, right? When Derek and I are doing it on the Friday show,
Oh man,
yeah.
you're getting through, a slate of 16 games or, even 11, right? When you have the monster bye weeks and you're going through, it's daunting, like to try and do that. And you miss some, right? It's a lot to digest and continue a normal job also, but
Right.
playoffs, I feel like I can hone in a bit more.
right?
And the wild card round definitely got me, right? 500 was not where I wanted to be, but the rest of it, I felt clearly it panned out, but I did feel good about those. Just it was easier to focus in on those games and your attention's not spread out.
It's very true. So,
Well, that's it. That's it for the season.
yep. And so that brings us to kind of the beginning part of the next season here. All right. We've all the head coaching spots already filled up. Most of the coordinator jobs already filled up here as well. But that being the case, right? Like anytime you see a new coaching regime take place, there's obviously impacts that happen on the field for fantasy. So kind of super early type of thoughts here on which coaching change, whether it be a head coach coaching regime or a coordinator change, will have some of the biggest impacts on fantasy football for the upcoming season.
Bijan will get used how he was supposed to be used.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So free Bijan.
I like it. Although I did see too that the Steelers apparently, there's all of these things being floated out there that the Steelers are now interested in bringing Ryan Tannehill into town.
They just cut Trubisky.
I've heard a lot of things
today.
about the Steelers, right? Like I've heard rumors of Tomlin really likes Justin Fields, right? And then making a play for that. I've heard about them bringing in Tannehill to go with Arthur Smith. They're always rumored, right? We'll see what happens. I think ultimately, I'm interested to see where some of these top free agents go, and then start to worry about scheming and everything else. But I mean, who's going to get tagged? Who's not going to get tagged, right? Like which of these receivers are actually going to move places? What are we doing with this glut of running backs on the free agent market?
Yeah.
And where are they going to go? And how is that going to shake up the dynamic? Like, I think all those things are interesting. I'm interested to see how Harbaugh coaches the Chargers. And key one to that, I think you're going to understand a lot about what his philosophy is going to be this go around by what running back he brings in.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Does he bring in Josh Jacobs and want to go a little bit more hard-nosed? Does he, do they try and move money around? I don't think they have the cap space, but do they try and move money around if Saquon hits the open market? Like, I don't think Eckler's coming back, so I don't think that's the answer. Where's Derrick Henry go? Right? Like what does this look like? DeAndre Swift, does he stay with Philly and stay for his hometown team being a Philly kid? Or does he say, okay, thanks, this was fun, but now we're going to go elsewhere? Like, do the Cowboys bring in kind of a mauler at running back to take some of the pressure off of Tony Pollard? Because we saw
the Cowboys re-sign Pollard.
Right. Do the Cowboys re-sign Pollard? Yeah. Or do they make a play at Jacobs, right? Kind of get that guy who you feel like can do it all. So the running back room, I know the NFL is kind of like, use up, spit out onto the next one, but there is just so many high-profile running backs on the free agent market this year that I think you'll be able to tell a lot with what these teams feel like their offensive philosophy needs to be going into the season by what they're doing and what teams are going after running backs and signing them.
Right. Yeah, interesting thought there too, where we're talking about the coaching carousel and the changes and all of that. I don't know if y'all saw the post that Tyreek made earlier in the day, where it was, why isn't Spags getting any head coaching interviews and opportunity type of things? And there's certainly something to that, right? Like, what was it? I think this is Spags' fourth championship as a coordinator, and
most of any coordinator,
right? So I get the three of them have been with the Chiefs and all of that, but the Chiefs didn't win that Super Bowl this year because of their offense. That defense is what carried them through the regular season and carried them through a lot of the playoffs.
I think until this year, he has been underappreciated, right? Because you've had the Patrick Holmes effect with, the Star Wars type numbers and the high profile offense where the defense seemingly gave up more through the air because teams were constantly in catch up mode. And this year it wasn't. They were much tighter games. Teams had the opportunity to stay balanced against the Chiefs, but it allowed their defense to really show out. So I think with how the Chiefs are set up and how young they are, I think that if they're able to have a similar output on defense next year, that you'll see Spags get some opportunities here.
Do you think owners are scared? Look, he was a head coach, and yes, this was 15 years ago at this point now, basically.
You retread all over the place. I mean, Christ, the Cowboys just signed Mike Zimmer, who hadn't been in the league for the last 2 years.
It's true.
Like, it's nothing, but it's all retreads.
He was 1-15 his first year, 7-9 his second year, and then 2-14 with St. Louis. He was bad enough that St. Louis left town. Like,
but I mean,
post Kurt Warner, post greatest show on turf,
Yeah.
post
He
back-to-back
was
Super Bowl appearances. Like
he was up
one
against
could
it,
argue
yes.
it was an impossible situation. Like
Right.
everybody left town. Torrey Holt, Marshall Falk, Kurt Warner, Dick Vermeil, right? Everybody was gone. Leonard Little. Who else was on that team? Didn't Orlando Pace leave then too? Didn't he move on
Probably,
after that, or
yeah.
did he stick around for a season or two? Like, I mean, it was just it was a bad situation. The team had to get out from under cap hell. He was the guy. He was the fall guy.
Oh, pretty tough.
Josh McDaniels got a
Eating.
second shot before
Right.
Steve Spagnuolo. Like,
So-
let's put this in perspective here.
Also, you want to know something fun? I don't know if you guys knew this. Originally, Spagnuolo hired Pat Shurmur to be the Rams offensive coordinator, but then Pat Shurmur left to take the Browns job. Also, Pat Shurmur used to coach here, I think. I think he coached at A&M. And then who did he hire then? Who do you think he hired to be the team's offensive coordinator when Shurmur left?
Who?
Josh McDaniels. In 2010, he hired Josh McDaniels.
Oh, I remember that.
Yep.
Yeah, whatever.
That's funny.
Hot garbage. Like, whatever.
I mean, sure, we saw Adam Gase get multiple trips at the
that's true.
head coach.
I think this was after his stint in Denver. It was. He got hired as the OC after he got let go in Denver.
Yeah, it was the OC there for a year and then went back to New England.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yep. I remember that. So yeah, I think we'll get another shot. The defense just has to put up, it has to be good again next year. Now that the focus has been more diversified and we've seen it. I think they were hidden a little bit, right? And probably a little misjudged because of the greatness of Mahomes and Andy Reid and his brilliance and all that good stuff. So that'll be interesting. I'm interested to see if Bieniemy comes back to the staff. Like,
yeah, does Nagy move on? Does Nagy go somewhere else? Does
I don't know.
Bieniemy just come back and be a position coach? I guess be the running backs coach or whatever.
Yeah,
co-offensive coordinator.
Exactly.
Whatever you got to do.
That part will be interesting, but I mean, I get it. You want to try and be a head coach, but
it ain't working.
Being attached to Patrick Mahomes is not a bad thing for your career, man. It's just not.
Certainly, if you want to add some accessories to your hands,
or certainly if you want some longevity, right? Like your career is very much in lockstep. You don't have to go anywhere. You can just keep re-signing contracts and know that you have a paycheck.
Yeah.
Like
and a handsome one at that. It's not like they're getting paid peanuts.
No. We're not talking, $30,000-$35,000 a year here, guys.
Yeah.
Right.
Talking 3 or 3.5 million. Like,
right.
They're well compensated.
Absolutely. Real quick, we got the Just Fans podcast saying shout out from Houston, gentlemen. Keep up the great work. Appreciate
H-Town.
Just south of here. I think an interesting coaching change here is Dan Quinn to the Commanders, right? Like this, he's gonna want to have the identity, right? The last time Dan Quinn was a head coach, didn't really work out so hot. Mike Shanahan was the OC.
Bad.
His defense was great in Dallas, right? And so that's what they're going to have to figure out.
Even at his last stop, when he was head coach of the Falcons, his
defense
was solid, right? It was never as good as what Seattle's was, but you had a completely depleted roster that he was rebuilding and trying to tool up. And was it Beal? Was it Beal that was the high draft pick that they had? Vic Beasley.
That's it. Yes.
He didn't pan out, but guess what? Not everyone hits on all their draft picks. I mean, hell, the number of first round draft picks that Bill Belichick didn't hit on is insurmountable. but it's all buried because of Tom Brady, right? Like you don't remember who their first round picks were because it didn't matter. You had TB12.
Right.
I
You
think
don't
that'll
have
be
that excuse in Atlanta, right? Like you have to hit on these and whatever. So I mean, but yes, I agree. I mean,
well, especially
I
in that
think he'll do
division,
all right.
right? Like that division has got some firepower when it comes to offenses, right?
And he clearly knows what
Eagles
frustrates. Yeah, but being in the division, he knows what frustrates the Eagles.
Yes.
Being in practice, he knows what frustrates Dak and how that's going to play out. Like he's kind of owned the Giants since being in that division, and they're still rebuilding a little bit. So, I think he at least has the game plans to be competitive within that division. But they're going to have to make some personnel moves, right? Like, what are you doing at quarterback? What are you doing? What are you doing at wide receiver? Do you trust the guys that you have? I don't see.
Like, do you stick around? Do you stick around at 2? Do you try to trade back to get some more stuff? Do you go or do you just say, hey, Chicago, whatever quarterback you're not taking, we'll take the other guy?
You take Drake May.
Right.
Yeah.
You take Drake May. Right.
I think that's the smart move. I think that there's going to be some jockeying that takes place in that war room that tries to get the Commanders to move up a spot and sink their future like the Bears did with Mitchell Trubisky moving up that spot.
No. There's no way.
I mean,
if I'm sitting at 2, I am happy as can be. The pressure's not on me. I evaluate both quarterbacks. I understand their strengths and weaknesses, and I'm going to be happy. This was the guy we targeted all along. The coach speak that goes along with it. But I'm going to run up to the podium, like right behind him. Like, okay, I'm going to have 2 cards in my hand. 2 cards in my hand, and whichever one Chicago calls, I'm going to look at that one and make sure I throw that one out, not the wrong one, but throw the card out that the Bears call, run up here. Okay, here's my guy. 1 and 2, boom, done. Like,
right.
Worst trades could always happen, but the Bears
15 minutes of TV time in between those picks. The pick will be in,
which really turns into 20 in some cases, right? So,
right.
I guess the Bears are asking for a king's ransom. Which I don't blame them, right? When you're talking quarterbacks at the top, like King's ransom, but even for Fields, I heard, you start to hear rumblings that they're asking a crap ton for Fields. No. Eventually, everybody's going to call their bluff. Like, okay, let's see what you do here. Like,
yeah,
you're not going receiver 1 overall. I don't care how good Marvin Harrison is, and he's very good, but you're not going receiver number 1 overall when.
Is there an interior O lineman that you need? You're not going to spend on an interior unless it's a tackle. You're not taking them 1 or 2 overall.
No, and even then you can move
slide
back
down to 4 or 5.
Yeah,
right.
And feel good about being able to take whatever tackle you want.
Is there an edge out there that's worth the number 1 overall pick?
Not this year.
Realistically,
your 1, 2, 3 is.
Quarterback.
You can pick your order in there, but it's Williams, it's May, it's Daniels. Like those are 1, 2, 3, and Harrison probably number 4 to the Cardinals. If I as an early like call your shot type of, that's the draft. Like that's the order players come off the board in.
So it's wide receiver deep, and then it's player depth kind of everywhere else, right? Your top end quarterback, your wide receiver deep. And everywhere else is just kind of depth. Like there's no dynamic, surefire starting running back in this class. Like guys who have a lot of heart, guys who can fight for spots, guys who will get drafted on day 2 and into day 3. Absolutely. But there's no Bijan, there's no Najee, there's no, Saquon, like just jumping off the page type running back. So you're going to have to get a little creative, right? Some wide receivers, some defensive backs to combat those wide receivers, and as many pass rushers as you can get your hands on. But it's a lot of depth.
Which brings me to our next point. We are, let's call it 2.5 weeks, give or take a day, from Kevin's favorite 4-day job interview process. The Underwear Olympics start on the 29th.
Love it.
Defensive linemen and linebackers starting at 3 Eastern on Thursday, February 29th. Set your DVR now.
Right.
I will watch it.
Yeah, I was trying to think on Alex's question of, offensive linemen, things like that. Like,
so I'm just looking at the draft order on NFL, just looking at this way too early, right? And the biggest needs for each team that they have. I admit that I am not an expert on what the Bears need. I didn't watch a ton of Bears football this year. But their biggest needs are interior O-line, wide receiver, tight end, edge, and quarterback. And honestly, I think they throw quarterback in there just – do they need a quarterback? No. But you're picking number 1 overall because you traded away, the pick to the Panthers, and the Panthers stunk it up worse than you did. So you get the number 1 pick.
Right. Well, and they've got a different – they've got a brand new offensive coordinator now too, and Shane Waldron coming from Seattle, right? Like resurrected Geno's career while he was there, right? Like Luke Getsy moving on. So yeah, this is one of those that it is kind of a what are they going to do here?
How frustrating it must be for Bears fans because it feels like they've got what they need.
They certainly have a
lot.
Sorry,
do you feel like they got what they deserve?
Yeah, well, sure, but it feels like they've got what they need to be competitive, and they just haven't been. Like it feels like they've got what they need to be competitive, and it's been that way for the last 4 years. And I don't think it's entirely Justin Fields' fault. I think he's getting the short end of the stick here.
They didn't have a good ascension plan, right?
No.
They threw him in when he wasn't ready. He's taking his lumps, got injured, but
didn't have pieces really around him.
Yeah, like
trade away your best receiving target, right?
Okay. All 32 teams, right? Clear their quarterback rooms. Where does Justin Fields go? Like, as far as ranking, like every single team loses all their quarterbacks. Fields goes at what overall?
Quarterback ranking
14.
Yeah, I was gonna say 15 off the cuff there, but I could see that anywhere
Middle
from
of
that
the pack.
14 to 17 kind of area.
He's not awful. I mean,
I'm not saying he's awful. I'm just saying if you're starting over from scratch and all the quarterbacks
just like
get
your own
tossed
fantasy
out there
football
and they
draft
shake,
here.
they shake the lottery balls, and it doesn't matter how it ranks out. It really doesn't. What overall does Fields go?
Yeah, he's
14,
middle of the
15,
pack.
16. Like, do you feel like a middle of the pack quarterback gets you anywhere consistently in the NFL?
Okay. Where does Baker land?
Baker's in that same mix.
Baker got to the playoffs
16,
this year.
17, 8.
It's not necessarily getting to the playoffs, right? Like it's with the quarterback, you're looking to win championships.
Yeah, I get that, but
really
they haven't even been competitive. They were 2-15 last year.
Daniel Jones got the Giants to the playoffs 2 years ago.
That's fair. That's a fair point.
And
but they haven't even been competitive, man.
Fields, when he came back, they got hot towards the end of the season. They're finishing 7-10. Like there's something to.
Yeah, it's not that he's bad. Like I'm not trying to hate on the guy. Like it's not that he's bad. He's a good quarterback. He's dynamic. He has the ability to be a cheat code. But what we haven't seen in Chicago to this point is to allow an offense to truly flow.
Yeah.
They finally started to put some things together about the middle of the year, and then Fields got hurt. Freak injury, right? Like it was a freak injury. But he was finally, him and DJ Moore were clicking, right? They were going off. And he got hurt. And then he came back, and there's a little rust that you got to knock off and everything else. And he came back and was doing some good things. But fantasy purposes and NFL purposes are two different scales, right? Fields is great for fantasy because you have the legs. NFL purposes, Fields still has developing to do because he hasn't been taught the right way.
No.
I should clarify. I was looking at the Panthers record there when I said they were 2-15 because it's the Panthers pick that the Bears have, but still.
Right.
The Bears 7-10, still not. It's not good enough, but man.
I'm just saying, do you take Justin Fields or do you take Tua?
Well, I take Tua with.
Okay. No.
Mike McDaniel.
Justin Fields or Tua?
No, I think I would take Justin Fields.
Okay. Dak Prescott or Tua?
Dak.
Jared Goff or Tua?
Oh, Jared Goff. I think that one's a little easier for me.
Jordan Love or Tua? Or Jordan Love or Fields. Sorry.
Oh. Man, I think I take Justin Fields over Jordan Love.
Okay. Brock Purdy.
Ugh.
And that's all I'm saying. Like it's just mediocre. Like that's all I'm getting after. It's mediocre. These owners don't settle for mediocre, right? Coaches get fired over mediocrity.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So if you're not going to accept it, then you need to try and get something for Fields if you feel like he's just mediocre, and try and go for something better.
Well, and it very much is
on the rookie contract, right? So you don't have to pay Fields the big money. You now have a 5-year reset to finish building the team around. You have Eberflus and
Shane Waldron is the offensive coordinator.
Waldron, like, here you go. Like, we're going to start from scratch. We got a rookie contract here. So young quarterback, we're going to finish building around him. We feel like we have some pieces offensively. Need some help on the offensive line, and we need some help on defense.
Right.
Like,
and their defense is actually not bad. They've got a lot of young secondary players back there that are kind of up and coming, but there's a lot of other pieces that are needed.
I guess I'm thinking D line. Sorry, I'm thinking like defensive line.
Yeah, their D line has a lot of kind of holes in it. Their linebacking core is okay, but they really don't have in the trenches side of things. Like they really just there's a lot of opportunity.
A little light in the pants. There's a old saying for you.
Right.
So and that's what I'm after. And again, it's not Justin Fields hate speech. It's just observation, right? No, these teams operate mediocrity. It is the purgatory of the NFL. Yeah. Like, if you are mediocre, it is really hard to get really good from mediocre.
Right. Well,
you have to pivot at some point.
And the Bears finished hot, right? Like 6-3 over the last 9 weeks of the season, with the only 3 losses coming to Detroit, lost there, lost to Cleveland, and then they lost to Green Bay to finish the season out there. But
playoff team, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And
teams playing well down the stretch, making it into the playoffs.
And it wasn't,
but that's what your level of competition needs to be in the playoffs and make a deep run.
And each one of those losses was a 1-possession game. Like, it wasn't that they got handed it, they got it handed to them or anything like that. They were in those games competitive all the way to the end. So, but I think there's also a lot of that if you've still got questions this far into the Justin Fields experience, like there is that point that at what point do we just hit the reset button, restart with the rookie deal, and we move on from there?
Yeah.
Because if there's
take a first and a third, or a first and a second, I don't think you're going to get 2 firsts for him.
No.
There's too many questions. People know that they have to pay him after this year. Like there's too many things coming up, but you take the first and the third or first and the second, whatever you feel like the best offer is.
Right.
And you take it and run. You start from scratch. You have some more draft capital and you continue to build.
Right. Well, and if you're the Steelers, right, and you're looking at some of the QB market out there, right, you're not in a position where you're going to be able to really move up and get one of the top guys in the draft there. Are you really trying to make a move with what you're sitting at the draft board with Penix or Bo Nix type of thing? Probably not. You've kind of done that with the Kenny Pickett experiment the last couple of years. So do you then move on and look at the Justin Fields or another quarterback that's seemingly getting shopped out there, Russell Wilson, right? Like if you're the Steelers, you can probably get Russell Wilson on the cheap from a compensation standpoint, but you then have to inherit that monster contract.
No.
Which the Steelers can't really do, and then keep TJ Watt around.
Right. So Justin Fields starts looking, all the better at that point.
Yeah. So all we're saying, right? There's a lot of moving pieces this offseason. So it'll be fun. We'll be here to cover it every step along the way, starting with the Underwear Olympics. We'll do some breakdowns, right? We can do some early rankings, right? We can talk some dynasty rankings for you year-round players. All sorts of fun stuff coming up. But we got a full docket. Never leave here every Tuesday.
Absolutely. Well, that's going to be the end of it. Any final thoughts out there?
Good season.
Yeah, good season. Congratulations to the NFL. Enjoy the off season. We're going to hit the reset button and start all over next week.
On to Cincinnati. All righty. So that's going to do it.
That guy's unemployed.
Yes. All righty. Well, that's going to do it for us. We'll be back again live next Tuesday, 11 p.m. Eastern time. But that's going to do it for us. You can find us on all the socials, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, at all the things at Good Old Boys FF. Head over to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/@goodoldboysff. Click that subscribe button, ring that bell, help support the show over there. Best place to support the show. But that's going to do it for us. He's Kevin. He's Alex. I'm Derek. Have a good one. Be safe. Toodaloo.